Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Mark. Okay, I guess you noticed straight away that Michael is not here. I've got a notice he is going to be late. Therefore, I am chairing this afternoon's meeting. Michael may appear during the meeting and join us. Do we have any notification of any other apologies from members?
Yes, just Kieran Morton, as far as I'm aware.
Okay. So I will ask, do members are present have any declarations of interest or transparency statements to make? If so, can I ask you to put your hand up? Councillor Ian, good afternoon, please.
And good afternoon to you as well. I only have three in relation to 4.1, 5.1 and 7. They all make reference to the NHS. I am a member of the board of NHS Grampian. Having considered the objective test, I don't believe it's necessary to withdraw. So just to confirm, those are transparency statements.
Thank you very much. Councillor Radley, Miranda, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. In terms of 5.3, I am a member of the Aberdeen City Region Deal Joint Committee, but I don't believe it's just a transparency statement. I don't think I need to leave at this point.
Thank you very much. Okay, Councillor Yeo, please then. I'll bring you back in.
Just call me forgetful. I am also a member of the Aberdeen City Region Deal Joint Committee. I was so focused on the NHS, I forgot about that. So at 5.3, I also have an interest as a member of that. Sorry, a transparency statement as a member of that.
They're all transparent.
Apologies again, Chair.
That's okay. You've got a note of that.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Colin, good afternoon to you, please.
Good afternoon. Just to note that I'm a member of Ithon Cycle Club, who are recipients of some of the places and people, but there's no voting or anything, so I don't think I have to leave on that.
We're just checking the item on the agenda. 5.1. Yeah.
So sorry, I can't. I'm struggling at home here. I can't find the agenda either at the moment.
No, it's fine. We've got it here. It was just when Mark turned in who's quicker, Paul or me, to answer that question. So no, that's absolutely fine. Okay, all transparency statements so noted. I don't see any others, so we'll move on to item 1.2, which is the minute of the board meeting of 18th February 2026. For reference, it's pages 3 to 12 of your agenda pack. And my question would be, are you content to accept that as a true record of the meeting? If you do not, or you identify a change proposed, please can I ask you to raise your hand now? Just giving everybody a second or two. I'm seeing no hands, so I'm content that we're accepting that as a true record. Minute is so approved. Okay, item 1.3 is the note of the outstanding business. It is pages 13 and 14, and I'm going to ask Mr. Finch if he could present this item to us. Paul, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chair. Thank you. 4 items of outstanding business that we've identified from the previous minute and discussions. The first one, we just recall back the discussion we had on the benchmarking of our Arbroath Cycle project. We've had ongoing discussions with Paul Downey at Angus Council. Some of the officers had a successful site visit to the Arbroath scheme to actually see it firsthand at the end of March. We understand that there is to be a evaluation of that in late summer. And then the proposal would be then to wrap that up with the impacts of the Arbroath Cycle scheme, and also to do some comparisons at that point also with some of the delivery in the Aberdeen City Council area as well. So we're aiming for that to be the 16th of September meeting going forward. The Bus Users UK Manifesto, Councillor MacDonald asked for that to be circulated, and we've included that as an item in one of the publications and consultations item on this agenda. We also, the last minute, we're asked to provide a more detailed programme for the progress of the A92 Merca North Active Travel Programme, and we've provided that within the item 3 on the paper there, with the dates being provided by the team delivering that in Aberdeen City Council. And then finally, there was a request to bring back to the meeting more information on the ballot of mobility hub and coach parking, and we plan to do that at the next meeting in June, when we've got the reports more progressed to be discussed at that meeting. Thank you very much, Chair. Happy to take any questions if there are any.
Okay, I guess members, do you have any questions? Just left, so put your hand up. I'm seeing lots of shaking heads. Everybody's content. So just give one more second or two for anyone that's online. No, I'm not saying so. Thank you for the update there. So we will move, we have no presentations today, so we will move straight to budget matters. And it is item 3.1, which is the 25-26 budget matters. For reference, it's pages 15 to 22 of your agenda pack. And it's Jenny, I believe, is going to take us through this item. Jenny, please, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, everybody else. This report's the usual update on the budget monitoring for 2025-26. A summary statement of income and expenditures given in Appendix 1 and shows spend to the end of February of just over 3.2 million. The forecast outturns are also shown and have been updated to reflect some projects that are known to be coming in under budget or not progressing this financial year, and this is the basis for some later carry forward requests. Appendix 2 shows the spend to the end of February and forecast outturn for the 25-26 People in Place grant. As noted verbally in February, a further grant offer of just over 63,000 was received and has been accepted. This extra grant funding is included in the revised budget figures presented, which also reflects some grant variations that were made between projects in an effort to offset some predicted underspends that existed. An interim claim was submitted in March, and it is intended to claim the People in Place grant in full. Within the forecast, the Nestrans scheme admin costs and the Grampian Inclusive Cycling Bothies grant for the Core Pass for the Core Pass 17 upgrade are shown as balancing items to maximise use of the grant, but should the pathwork final claim be less, then a contribution to the currently Nestrans funded access improvements on the Farmartin and Buchan Way has again been agreed as being acceptable. Full details of the final amounts claimed will, however, be confirmed at the next board meeting in June. Appendix 3 sets out the projects for further continuation of funding from the 25-26 financial year to the now current 26-27 financial year is requested, and a short comment as to the particular reason for each request is given. The board is asked to note the monitoring position and forecast presented in Appendices 1 and 2, to note the additional grant funding for 25-26 People in Place programme, and to approve the continuation of funding to the next financial year to complete the projects presented in Appendix 3. Thank you, Chair, and I'm happy to try and answer any questions on this report.
Yes, I'm going to look. Do members have any questions on this specific report? If so, can I ask you to raise your hand? I guess I'll start perhaps in Appendix 1. Just perhaps it just shows there, like if I read it right, 930k of surplus. And if that's at the end of February, I guess my question really is, are we going to be able to spend all of that? If, you know, dare I say, obviously we're now sitting in the next financial year, but it's to get an understanding just our commitment as to when, if we are going to spend the majority of it, just when we're anticipating that's actually going to happen.
A lot of the projects being funded, especially for the strategic investment programme, are infrastructure projects, so it very often is the tail end of the financial year that we get the invoices from, based on the forecasts, which was what we thought the outturn position would be in March, still being confirmed as we work on year end. That surplus does reduce to about 270,000, but the variance that's shown against those forecasts did show that there was sort of about 670,000 of variance, and of that, the carry forward requests that are presented, they come to about 500,000. So it leaves about 170 of underspend. Of that, the bulk has been associated with Nestrans vacancies this year. We've had one position vacant, be that the director or then the transport strategy manager or then the travel planning. That comes to about 140,000 of the underspend. And then there's another 30,000, which was the two projects. There's variable message signs in the city. They came in under budget. They did have a budget of about 250,000, so they only came under budget by about 20. And in Aberdeenshire, the A92 Gordon bus stop access improvement came in under budget as well. So that's the other about 30,000 to underspend. That will just be pure underspend.
Okay, thank you very much for that answers. I'm not seeing any members with questions or comments, etc. So I have to take us back to what would be as you set out there, Jenny, we're being asked to note, and that is on a full page. It's page 15. We are content to accept those recommendations as set out on page 15. I won't read them out again. Yes, okay. Agreed. Okay. So we will then move on to item 3.2, which is our 26-27 budget update. And back to yourself, Jenny, please.
Thank you again, Chair. This report advises the board of the funding allocations to Nestrans for the 26-27 current financial year that have been confirmed. The board approved proposed budgets for 26-27 when they last met in February, subject to anticipated funding levels being confirmed. Both councils have now set their budgets, and although a formal offer of grant has yet to be received from the Scottish Government, it has been indicated that it will be retained at the previous year's levels. The coordination and project development budget agreed in February can therefore be progressed, and should the carry forward from 26 within the previous report have been agreed, which it was, this will bring the total budget to almost 1.2 million. Following confirmation of council funding, the strategic investment programme proposals approved in February can also now be progressed. And now that the carry forward requested in the previous report has been agreed, this will bring the total budget to just over £3.5 million. There's no current recommendation to draw down from the unallocated general reserves, but a report would be brought to a future meeting should a need arise where it's thought beneficial to ask the board to consider this. At the time of writing, a formal offer of grant for the 26-27 People in Place programme had still to be received, but the allocated amounts will be reported within budget matters to a future meeting once known, and an update on the development of proposals will be given in a separate People in Place report on this agenda. The board has been asked to note the funding awards to Nestrans that have been confirmed for 26-27, note that there are no current plans to allocate funds from the general reserves, but that proposals would be brought to a future meeting for consideration by the board should it be thought beneficial to do so, and note that an offer of grant for the 26-27 People in Place programme had yet to be received, but will be reported to a future meeting. And again, I'm happy to try and answer any questions on this report.
Okay, I'm going to look again towards members if you've got any questions or comments on this report. I'm not seeing anyone at this point, so I will ask a question. You talked there about pending grant award, and you talked about indicating figure of similar to previous years. I'm just curious in terms of timelines more as to what, if that is delayed. I'm conscious of the fact we're already in the new financial year. Does it have a knock-on effect in terms of if you haven't got the indication properly, you're going to get the grant? Does that mean that you're not able to progress certain projects? Or what sort of impact could we potentially be with that? Perhaps.
It's the revenue grant that we get from Transport Scotland, which in its bulk tends to cover staff salaries. There is that underspend from this year that will now go into reserves. So I think we'll still all be in employment for a wee while. But I think, Paul, you've possibly had an update from Transport Scotland.
Yes, this has been discussed at RTP chairs with Transport Scotland. We've again identified our disappointment at the delay of receiving this, and this has happened on several years now. That the confirmation of that letter has come through, and obviously we have received promptly the council's confirmation of their allocations. As well, we have email correspondence to say yes, it's in hand and it's coming. So we just have to keep a very close eye on that and hope that it will come through in a timely manner, because that will save us an accounting headache in times being. There's no indication of that will not come through. It's just the frustration and delay in having that in writing.
So if I hear you correctly, none of the transport partnerships, so we're all in the same problem.
Yes, across the board.
Okay, and there's no, is there, I mean, I dare say, is there a way we can feed that back collectively as the RTPs just for future years? Because it just, if we can get each individual council to actually commit, it just seems a little bit disappointing that we can't get, basically, how would you put all the funding at once so proper way forward? It
is something that we, as a group of collective RTPs in the chairs meeting, that was raised with Transport Scotland last time we met around about this, the importance of receiving surety in a timely manner as well, and we will continue to do that as we go forward.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't see any other councillors wishing to ask, or members, I should say. So with that, I will take us to what is the recommendations that are set out. Set out page 23, and we are content to accept the 3 recommendations that's set out for this paper. Yes, agreed. Okay, item 3.3 is the annual audit plan for 25-26, and Tina Wright is going to take us through that. Tina, please.
Thank you, Chair. This report is to inform the board of the 25-26 annual audit plan, which sets out the audit work to be undertaken to provide an opinion on Nestrans financial statements. An external auditor from Grant Thornton is in attendance today to go over the audit plan, which is included as Appendix 1 with details of the audit timing and fee. And with Chair's permission, please could I pass to Archie Corbin from Grant Thornton, who will provide more detail on the audit plan. Thank you.
Yes, please do. Yes, well, I should have introduced, first of all, Archie earlier as well. So yes, definitely, please.
No worries. Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much, Tina. I don't plan to go through the entire plan page by page, but I would like to highlight the following key points. Page 33 of the committee papers detail the significant audit risks identified during our planning work. Management override of controls is a standard risk relevant to all audits and is required by ISA 240. Nestrans participates in the North East Scotland Pension Fund, a local government pension scheme. We have identified a significant risk in relation to the valuation of the pension liability. The risk is due to the level of estimation and judgment in the calculation of the pensions figures by Nestrans actuary. Page 40 of the committee papers provides details of the interim audit testing we are completing. We are covering 3 main areas, and completing this testing early provides for further efficiencies later in the audit. Page 42 of the committee papers provides details on our materiality figures for the audit. Our planning materiality has been set at 2.5% of the 2024-2025 gross expenditure, and results in a materiality total of £167,250. Our performance materiality has been set at 75% of planning materiality, and results in a total of £125,438. Our trivial amount has been set at £8,400. These amounts are the highest levels we are able to set as part of our methodology. We will revisit these at year end when we have received the 2025-2026 accounts. At page 47, I'd also like to point out that the wider scope exemption applies to our audit of Nestrans. In line with the requirement of the code, we have assessed the risk factors relevant to Nestrans and concluded that Nestrans qualifies for the exemption for 2025-2026. The gross revenue, gross assets and gross liabilities of Nestrans are not expected to exceed the 10.2 million limit set out in Audit Scotland's guidance. Furthermore, we have not identified any other wider scope risks beyond financial sustainability that would require further consideration during the audit. It should be noted that we have reviewed the financial sustainability as part of our audit planning and not identified a significant audit risk. At pages 49 of committee papers, the plan provides details on our audit timeline. We've completed the majority of our audit planning work. We do have some areas that are outstanding, which relate to work on IT systems, but we have some controls on pensions to complete later in the year, as it's currently too early to finalise the testing. If any additional risks are identified from this work, it will be communicated to Nestrans and confirmed in our annual audit report. Our final accounts audit work will take place in August to September 2026. This is our intention to present our audit report to this committee in September. We'll be within the target timelines for our local government. The basis for the audit fee is set out on page 53. The baseline fee is being set out by Audit Scotland and is £13,360. That concludes our summary of the audit plan. We're happy to take any questions on any item included. Before that, I'd just like to thank Tina and the wider finance team for their help throughout the audit planning process. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll look towards members. Do members have any questions for Tina or Archie? No. Okay, so. Oh, sorry, apologies. Councillor Ian, please.
It's not a question, it's just a thank you. It was a very, given the subject, it was a very easy report to read and hopefully understand.
Thank you very much. That was my 2 weeks ago spent doing that, so I appreciate it.
Yes, I guess thank you very much as well. We'll look forward, I guess, to seeing the report and everything back in September time. I'm not seeing any other comments from members, so I take it we are content to just to note the paper as requested. Yes, thank you very much, Tina and Archie. We will move to item 4.1, which is the director's report. It's pages, for reference, it's pages 63 to 84 of your paper pack. And Mr. French Paul, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. The report provides us an overview of some key activities within Nestrans and what I've been up to since the last board meeting, highlighting key points for the board's attention. Before I come to the recommendations, I'll just put forward a few things. It's great that we now have Gwyneth McMinn and Katrina both joining the Transport Executive following recruitment processes since the last board. So it's great to have them on board to support the work of the executive. The number of strategic liaison activities we've been undertaking, that includes, and you beat me to it with your question, Chair, the discussions we've been having with Transport Scotland on a number of budget issues, including core funding for RTPs, people in place funding, and also the new Transport to Employment grant funding as well. Some of those things were reflected when we met with the RTP chairs in Perth, but one of the other significant elements that we discussed at that meeting was also around the interface of RTPs with some of the proposals that are now being bandied around for regional economic partnerships as well. And I think we just tagged that for being close, keep a close eye as we go forward and see how that dialogue develops. We've been busy with the 2 community planning partnerships. The Bus Alliance Board met in March, and we know that there's been a significant management change actually at First Bus in Scotland, and our key contact now is Andy Cullen, who's based in York for First Group. We also have some of the minutes of some of the other strategic partnership work that we do there. In item 5, I'm delighted to say that the work that we've been doing on battery electric vehicle HGV charging facilities has been shortlisted at the annual Scottish Transport Awards, and that's very much due to the work Claudia and the team have been doing there. We have a proposal there to attend that award, that awards system award presentation. Myself, Claudia, and the chair, 11th of June. So there's an element of asking for permission to do that as well from the board. In Appendix D, we've also provided a headline of some of the conferences and presentations that we've been up to, and actually provided just a little bit more background in the appendix of some of those key meetings going forward. Certainly I enjoyed and found very beneficial a conference down in London that I attended in March, looking at connected places, which an awful lot was about different innovations in transport, very much trying to look beyond the current funding arrangements of the city region deal to see where other funding opportunities might be coming from in subsequent financial years as well. I would highlight that unfortunately there was an omission from the conferences and presentations list that there is a Scots annual dinner and conference towards the end of May, and I would propose myself and Caroline attend that, a cost of £300 per head, to include the inclusive cost of the meal, the accommodation and the conference going forward as well. We've always found that a very valuable networking time with the RTPs and also the key people in the local authorities. Finally, we have a summary of communications and press coverage presented in Appendix E. So the number of recommendations are to note the appointment of Gwyneth and Katrina, to note the ongoing strategic liaison with Transport Scotland and other RTPs, etc. Note the minutes of the Bus Alliance Board, Road Safety North East Scotland, HTAP Steering Group. Approve the attendance of the Chair, Director and Transport Executive at the Scottish Transport Awards. Note recent and planned attendance at conferences and events, and also to note the recent communications and press articles. Thank you very much, Chair. Happy to take any questions.
Yeah, but before I do that, I'm conscious of the fact that Councillor Hutchison has joined us. So if I could just take a step backwards and just ask Michael if you can confirm you've got any transparency statements or declarations of interest in today's agenda, if that's at all possible.
Yep, no transparency statements or declarations of interest, and can I thank you very much for stepping in at short notice to chair the meeting, given due to diary conflict I've had at short notice. Thank you.
Worries. Okay, Councillor Davison, good afternoon. Isabel, you've got some questions.
Good afternoon. It was really just a question about the Bus Alliance, because there's the members here are bus companies, two bus companies that have contracts with local authorities, but obviously there's quite a number of other ones that also have contracts with local authorities, and there's other bus services. Do we invite them, and they don't come, or do they not get invited? You know, do we have bigger picture stuff on bus use and buses throughout the North East?
Yeah, sure. So the Bus Alliance was set up as a sort of representation of the two major operators, but also a representative of the smaller operator. That has the smaller operator representative has. There's been some regulatory issues with that, so it's now a case of we propose to go out to a broader meeting of all the participants in the local bus market in May and see if we can get a resolution to the attendance of the Bus Alliance Board at that particular thing. It's also tied into some of the progression we're making with the Bus Services Improvement Partnership as well. But there is a proposal in place to sort of bring all the operators together and to resolve that particular anomaly, which we're aware of at this particular time.
Okay, I'm going to look around. Do any other members have questions for Paul? No? Okay. That's the legacy hand.
Councillor.
Oh, yeah. Okay. First of all, it's a legacy hand. Councillor Davidson, I take it. Yeah. Okay. And Councillor Ian, please.
Thanks. It's a plea for help. I've foolishly volunteered to take up a speaking slot at UK Reef next month on the subject of connected communities, buses as critical infrastructure. And we're planning to do something on art, but I might want to pick your brains at some point between now and then. If I don't do it, Miranda will be doing it. Yeah.
Nestrans would be delighted to help alongside our local authority colleagues. So if you let us know, we can definitely support you in that respect. It wouldn't be a problem at all.
Eternally grateful. Thank you.
Okay, I see no further hands up. So what I'm going to do, I'll take us to what is the recommendations that set out 4.1. There's 6 there, but I'm also noting the fact that Mr. Finch mentioned that he's also requesting that we approve attendance at the Scots conference and dinner for himself and Caroline. I think it was £300 per head. Are we content to accept the recommendations plus that additional recommendation? Yeah, agreed? Yeah, okay. So you're happy with that? Yeah, noting, okay. Okay, so we will move to item 5.1. It's the people in place, 25, 26 and 26, 27 update. And it's Caroline that's going to present it for us.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, everyone. This report was intended to provide an updated position on the conclusion of the 25-26 People in Place programme and also provide the board with an update on where planning has got to for the 26-27 programme. We're pleased to confirm, as Jenny noted in her Budget Matters report, that the grant will be used in full. And at the time of writing this report, we hadn't submitted our Q4 report to Transport Scotland. However, I can confirm that has been submitted, and we are now working on preparing the end of year evaluation report. A number of successes and highlights have been picked out in this report, and we look forward to presenting more information on these to the board, likely at the September meeting in terms of that end of year evaluation. I'll move now on to the 26-27 programme. At the time of writing, we had not received a grant offer letter. However, I can confirm that late on the 14th of April, we received a grant offer letter from Transport Scotland. However, we would also like to report that this grant offer letter represented a 60% reduction in revenue on the 25-26 award. This has required quite significant short notice reworking of the proposed programme. However, we are making very good progress and we have kept both national and local delivery partners and indeed Transport Scotland informed of this process. I can confirm that the awarded amount of funding for 26-27, the capital award remains flat on last year at £1,433,611. And the revenue allocation was £295,650. This is a significant reduction when compared with last year, which was £729,886. Hence, we were unable to prepare a balanced programme to be able to share with the board because of these last minute adjustments. Which then brings me on to the recommendations that we ask the board to consider is, first of all, to note the update provided in relation to the 25-26 programme, to note the ongoing preparation in relation to the 26-27 programme and the update on the current funding situation. And the third request is to approve a request to call a special meeting of the board in May 2026 to enable the partnership director to provide a further update on the 26-27 funding position and to gain the approval of the board for the final proposed allocation of grant awards. Thank you, Chair, and I'm very happy to take any questions the board may have on this matter.
Okay, before I bring in, I see Sandra certainly want to come in. Before I bring Sandra in, I want to bring in Paul in relation to that request for the special meeting. Just, I will say that Paul and I just did a brief chat about it earlier as to potential timing, and I think it's fair I bring Paul in just to put that across. First of all, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. Thank you, and Caroline, for the update there. We were looking at doing a one-item meeting held virtually on Teams, and we were aiming for Tuesday, the 12th of May, 9 o'clock in the morning.
Just for everybody online, Isabel said, yeah, there'll be an area committee. I said, well, it's not. I checked it. It doesn't impact either Dawn, yourself, or me. And you know, how would you put it? The chances is it might impact someone, but I think for what is one item in probably 20 to 30 minutes, doing it at 9 in the morning actually would be okay in terms of what is the Shire, in all honesty.
Yeah, that would work for the officers as well. And I think, I don't know, Mark, does that work for yourself?
Yeah, it does, and we'll just record the meeting, and that'll be obviously the recording of the meeting will be placed on the website as well.
Okay. Sandra, good afternoon. Thank you very much for waiting. Please.
Thanks very much, Chair. Yes, I can manage on the 12th of May, although I do have a Aberdeen Heating Board meeting at 10 o'clock, but yeah, I have 9 o'clock early start. Chair, on the substantive item on the agenda, I'm a bit shocked. Well, a bit shocked and a bit annoyed. I just cannot believe that having done such a good job with this particular programme that our funding has been with no consultation reduced. And again, it's the revenue part. It's the bit that makes the wheels go round. It's all very well having wheels and there, but unless you can keep them well oiled and going round, they're no use to anyone. So very disappointed to hear that the revenue grant has been cut so drastically. And is there any way that that we can lobby for this to be looked at again before we come together on the 12th of May? I think there must be something that we could do to try and turn this around. But and it may be on the 12th of May we get some more information about why this is. But just to hear now that the capital is being kept at flat, well, fair enough, but the revenue is just not sustainable as a project if that's happening to all the groups that we've supported over the last year. It's like taking you up to the top of the hill and then just leaving you there. That's my view.
I would say I share your view. I'm glad you've expressed it, because if you hadn't, I probably would have. You've expressed it so much better. So I'm going to look back towards Caroline as to what can we do? What are we questioning, etc. And perhaps Paul, if necessary, you'd be able to comment as well.
I'll spare Caroline the task of that one. There was all the RTP leads were called to a meeting, and this news was broken to us a couple of weeks ago or thereabouts, and confirmed with the grant letter. There was complete dismay across the RTPs, but also when we met yesterday with the national delivery partners again, the points that you've made, Councillor MacDonald, and probably shared in this room, were also clearly expressed to the Transport Scotland at that particular point. The point that, again, we have done so well, RTPs across the board have been praised for this work, and indeed, if you look later in the agenda and publications and consultations, there is a one-year evaluation report which also demonstrates the success that this programme has had. And again, if you look in the progress report in item 7, we have detailed across a number of lines the success that we've had in both infrastructure and revenue projects across a number of delivery partners, and the success of this. Transport Scotland have confirmed that there is a requirement for them within the whole of Scottish Government and also within transportation to present a balanced budget. And the decision was made that in order to achieve a balanced budget across the Scottish Government in transportation, then these cuts were being proposed to revenue because of the revenue pressures that they are experiencing there. Our lead contact in Transport Scotland has confirmed that these have been reserved as savings as last resort, so there may be an opportunity later in the year to see some of those other savings have been achieved, that there might be other opportunities there. I think in the short term, because of the consistent lobbying that has been undertaken across the RTPs and also the delivery partners on this, they've clearly understood the impact of this. I think that there is little immediate prospect of this being changed, although obviously post-May there will be, there's going to be a new government of whatever element. There will be a new transport minister, and perhaps there'll be conversations at that particular point as well. But I think we are basing it. We have to base our work on what we've been given at the moment and move on with that at the moment, and not necessarily hold out for a change in the short term of that.
Can I ask through you, Chair? We are in another paper on this agenda being offered from the Scottish Government, an employability element that is new to RTPs, and I did read that with interest. It doesn't give me much confidence, quite frankly, to deliver and to build up an expertise in employability and all that we have to do with that. When there may again be unhappiness further down the road, and I think of all the work that has gone in, as you quite rightly said, Paul, into establishing and to working within our particular business plan and the vision that we have as Nestrans. This fitted in so well with everything we do right across city and shire, and very disappointed today to hear that funding has been slashed like that. And it's not just that funding has been slashed, but with no, nobody flagging that up before it happened, I think is exceptionally poor.
I would agree. I'm conscious of the fact we've got another paper coming afterwards, so I don't want to necessarily link them at this point. I think where I would be is along the lines, Sandra. I think we have to lobby it through time. Sadly, what has happened. And whether we feed it back as Nestrans as lobbying, or we feed it back in addition through the collective RTPs would be my question to Paul here is, because if and I haven't obviously seen the figures for the other RTPs, but I'm surmising it's a similar sort of level of reduction that they have. I'm seeing you nodding your head, Caroline. I mean, that's, if it's drastic to us, it's drastic across the whole of the RTPs and everything that programme is actually delivering nationally, if that's the impact. And it's really, I guess my question is, how, pick up what Sandra said and what Caroline said as part of the introduction, how do we basically lobby it? I take the fact that there'll be a new government and, in a couple of weeks, couple of months, depending how I look at it, by the time they're bedded in and everything. But I'm worried that, to be honest, next year, this has come completely out of the blue. We've just had a paper earlier on where we're not sure what our actual funding could be in terms of the grant. When we find this one out late as well, it's just, what can we do in terms of lobbying? What's the thoughts, Paul?
Well, we have several people sitting around the table here who are members of that government. So what are they saying about it?
Well, I'm not going to go that way. I'm not going to go that way. It's really, I'm looking at the officers as to what we can do for lobbying there within the RTPs. So I'll look first of all towards Paul. So.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think that it is the effective lobbying of the RTPs collectively that we need to build upon in this place. We need to identify the impact locally in Nestrans, but also collectively in terms of the national transport strategy, our own regional transport strategies, and that wider policy context, which links obviously through to shared objectives relating to some of the community objectives around about there. That has to be the clear collected message that goes back to the government of this particular time and the officers as well. So the officers in Transport Scotland, who are also, to be fair, the people we're dealing with, also disappointed on this as well, so that we can provide them the evidence they need to make the case within the Transport Scotland and the Scottish Government.
Okay, Councillor Ian, please.
Thanks. I'm still going to answer your question about whether it's better to lobby as Nestrans or lobby as the collective. The answer is obviously both. And I'm sure that the chair, yourself and Paul we'll be having a huddle after the election and working out how best to start engaging with what may well, whatever the result, may well be a different ministerial team, although the civil servants don't tend to change, obviously, to make that point and others on our behalf and behalf of the good folk of the North East. I have to say congratulations to councillors around this table who are now Scottish Government ministers, apparently. It was it was only a matter of time. Talent will through. In all seriousness, this is really, really disappointing. Well, since I'm definitely not a member of member of the SNB, which would be a fate worse than death, no. But in all seriousness, this is really serious, as Sandra and yourself have said. So, yeah, let's lobby strongly through whichever channels we can use.
So before I bring Sandra back in, I'm wondering if an update can be given to us later in the year. You mentioned there right early on in part of that, Caroline. Yeah, there's potential. It might be later in the year. Wonder if an update could be actually shared back with the board later in the year as to just what sort of lobbying has been done, either directly or in conjunction with the other RTPs.
Absolutely, Chair, no problem to do that. There's definitely been proactive discussion across the RTPs, and we'll continue to advance that in the coming weeks, and we'll provide an update.
Sandra, you wish to come back in?
Yeah, I must be missing something here. What I'd like to come back to, Chair, is about all the organisations that that we have been working with. What's the communication going to be with them? And, you know, can we use them to help us in our efforts to lobby? Because they're the ones that we've been the conduit for them to do their magic on the ground. And so now it's going to be Nestrans are pulling their funding. It's not going to be, you know, that's what happens. So I sit in meeting after meeting, Chair, and hear from councillor colleagues from those in power at Holyrood about what we should be doing in Aberdeen City Council on subjects that are nothing to do with council. But heavens above, this is our bread and butter. And as an RTP, and having been on an RTP, this RTP for a long time, it is not very often that this comes along, and we are treated in this way. And I think we should be not just, you know, as Nestrans, collectively as RTPs, but I think also working with our with the groups that we have supported with this funding, and you know, to encourage them to keep going. Some hard choices are going to be made, and who's going to have to make them? It's going to be our officers in Nestrans, and it's you know, it really has made me very, very angry.
Caroline, can I bring you back in relation to specifically, obviously, the communication out to groups that we would fund, and also for actually, again, if Sandra's correct, totally correct, the more information we can get and the more people we can get to realise the problem is not necessarily here with Nestrans. If I can bring you back in.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. As soon as we were made aware of the cut to the budget, we proactively engaged in discussions with our most vulnerable delivery partners and discussed how they could continue to be supported. We have prioritised those delivery partners that we currently work with, and we have sought to use the full extent of the Scottish public finance rules to capitalise revenue costs where possible. So we've tried to be as intelligent with our budgeting within the remit that we have. We have also overwhelmingly had support from all of our delivery partners who very much understand where this cut is coming from. They know that it's not the choice of Nestrans officers. The one thing that our delivery partners have asked us is how can we support you in communicating back with Transport Scotland, and certainly some of our national delivery partners were able to do that yesterday during the meeting with the Nationals and Transport Scotland. The other thing that we're trying to do is to focus on preserving, at the direction of Transport Scotland, capacity and capability. So it's about jobs, because we know that it is those individuals that make the thing happen in the North East that is so valuable. And the other thing that we're seeking to do is to collect in bullet point form and return to Transport Scotland an accurate reflection of the impact of these cuts. And we're gathering information from our delivery partners, and we'll be presenting that back to Alan Martin at Transport Scotland in due course. But please be assured that our delivery partners are aware of where this constraint in the funding comes from, and that we have sought to maintain very good lines of communication with all of our delivery partners, and will continue to do so in the coming weeks.
Thank you. That is somewhat reassuring, Caroline.
Okay, thank you, Sandra. I am not seeing any further hands or members indicating they wish to participate in the discussion on this. So with that, I'm going to take us back to what is the recommendations that are set out in the paper on page 85. And note, there's three. It's there in the paper, plus the additional recommendation is for the officers of Nestrans to provide us an update, and I'll say either late Q3, early Q4, just on basically the status of the funding and obviously communication, etc. And obviously it has in there, it's mentioned about the special meeting. Councillor Yeo, you wish to come in?
No, just being thick. When you say Q3 and Q4, is that calendar year or financial year?
You're absolutely right. I tend to think calendar year. So where I'm basically at here is late September, early October. If that helps specifying out what I'm meaning. It was mainly just if it's I'd really like it at the suitable board meeting at that time, but I accept it might actually not be available and it may go to the next. It was just to give you a little bit of flexibility to provide that. That's all. But if I have to say late September, early October, I'm quite happy to say that as well. And also conscious of the fact we've got a special board meeting here as recommendation 3, and we're proposing 9 AM on the 12th of May. Are we content to accept those 4 recommendations? Agreed. Okay, thank you very much. We will move to item 5.2, which is transport for employment. It is pages 89 to 92 of your agenda pack, and it is Caroline again that's going to take us through that, please.
Thank you, Chair. So this paper updates the board on new funding being made available to regional transport partnerships to support transport to employment in financial year 26-27. We were made aware of this funding opportunity at the end of January, and it has come with the instruction that this is about tackling child poverty and supporting parents and carers into employment. We are currently working with the local employability partnership in both Aberdeen City and Aberdeenshire to develop a coordinated and joined up programme to support individuals overcome those transportation barriers that can present a challenge in either sustaining or even getting employment in the first place. It links with the Tackling Child Poverty Delivery Plan, as well as the No One Left Behind employability support. We don't have a grant offer letter for this at present, but we anticipate that the allocation for the region will be approximately £900,000, and that will be split between obviously both local authority areas. We are currently working very closely with the local employability partnerships. We had 2 very successful workshops, one on Friday last week with colleagues in Aberdeenshire Council and one on Monday with colleagues in Aberdeen City Council to try and plan best how to maximise this funding and to be joined up in our thinking. It represents an opportunity for us to continue to show the value the regional transport partnerships provide, and we look forward to working more closely with our colleagues in the local employability partnership. The board has recommended to note the intended allocation of funding by the Scottish Government to RTPs to support transport to employment interventions. And second, to note the intention to provide a parallel stream of funding from the Scottish Government to local employability partnerships to provide individualised access to employment support. And finally, to note that integrated and coordinated proposals are currently being developed between the local employability partnerships and Nestrans and will be brought to board for approval at the next meeting. Thank you, Chair, and I'm happy to answer any questions on this paper.
I will formally ask that members have any questions. If so, can I ask you to put your hand up? Councillor Davidson. Isabel, please.
Yeah, I think this is really interesting, and it's really interesting to see how it can be used as well, because it is always frustrating when the buses change their timetables, somebody loses their job every single time, you know, and it's very common, you know, for folk to get in touch and say, I can't get to my work anymore. And certainly, you know, from the north, from Shrewsbury, Peterhead, coming through my ward, the buses are so unreliable at the moment that people are struggling to get to work every day. And that puts their jobs at risk too. So I absolutely understand this. It's kind of for new people to try to get them into work, but it's only a year. And if we can't sustain reliable transport for the people that are already working, how are we going? I don't really want to be negative because I think it's really good, but at the same time, it's that sustainable aspect of it in the future and for people that are already trying to get to work.
Thank you, Councillor Davidson. Yes, that is a concern shared by both Paul and I about the long-term sustainability for this. And clearly, we don't want to be in a position where we're creating reliability on something that could ultimately be removed. One thing that we're really keen to ensure is that good data is made available so that this evaluates as well as possible. And that's something that Fiona Brown at Transport Scotland has been very keen to emphasise. So one of the things that we are going to do is to develop an evaluation framework for this to try and demonstrate not just outputs as in how many, but this emphasis on outcomes and impacts to try and as much as you ever can to try and ensure that there's potentially continued funding for this. But for the moment, we've been told that this is 1 year funding, but we will do everything we can to ensure that we have that data and that evaluation piece as ready as possible. I don't know whether Paul wishes to add anything further to that point.
I think we're just looking at a whole range of opportunities here, and that could be physical enhancements to bus services through to fares support, through to links to other activities that we're doing, information, signposting. So there's a whole range of aspects that we're looking at the moment, and it'd be interesting to see how we're able to deliver those and join them up. But yeah, I think it's a good opportunity to work with the employability partnerships. We've had some work with them previously through the community planning partnerships, and it'd be good to continue that relationship and see how we can build on it.
Okay, Isabel?
Yeah, it is okay, but and I think some of it's back to basics. Some people don't know how to use a bus. So, you know, it does go right back to the start. I know of a friend that teaches at the college, and she teaches the kids how to use a bus, and that's college, you know, not even school. So there is a lot that could be done, but it really worries me, the sustainability of it.
Okay, Councillor McDonald. Sandra, please.
Yeah, I would echo the comments that have been made, and also just as to think about as well. There's been in the city certainly some really good work, and you've probably come across this when you've been speaking to the Employability Partnership. Scottish Women's Budget Group had a real look at transport and women and childcare and how you balance all these things. So you know there is some anecdotal and good data out there, and you know getting in lived experience of people is, as we know, critical to. We need good data, but we also need that depth of data as well, and founded on lived experience. So you know there's plenty out there, and it'll be interesting to watch this going forward. But it does sound a little bit like a pilot, and you know. With all the best ideas in the world, it does take that knowledge that it is going to work going forward for people really to buy into it, and just to have it as 1 year again is not particularly helpful. But I think it's going to be a good initiative, and wish everybody well that's working on it.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor McDonald. Didn't pick up any questions there, so just mainly comments, mostly all positive, etc. So I don't see any other members indicating they wish to contribute to this item. So I will take us back to the recommendations that are set out. They're all for noting. Are we content to accept those recommendations? Agreed. Okay. I will take us to item 5.3. It's the Aberdeen City Region deal update. and it is Claudia. It's going to take us through this, please.
Thank you, Chair. This report provides the board with an update on the transport elements of the Aberdeen City Region deal as the deal enters its final year. The key highlight for this reporting period is the completion of the battery electric HGV feasibility study. This is a significant piece of work which provides, for the first time at a regional level, a robust evidence base on freight movements, duty cycles, and the infrastructure requirement to support the uptake of electric HGVs in the Northeast. The study confirms strong early potential for battery electric uptake, particularly with regards to rigid depot-based operations, reflecting the dominance of the short-distance freight movements in the region. It also clearly identifies the main barriers for wider uptake, including vehicle costs, grid capacity constraints, and the current absence of HGV-specific charging infrastructure. The findings, however, already helping to position the region for upcoming UK and Scottish Government freight decarbonisation funding opportunities, including the most recent Transport Scotland Market Readiness Fund, with One Haulier and the Port of Aberdeen being part of one of the shortlisted consortia developing a business case for that. The report otherwise notes that all strategic transport appraisal work streams remain on track and within approved budgets as we move towards the formal close of the deal in March 2027. The board is asked to note the wider progress being made on the transport elements of the Aberdeen City Region deal transport appraisal detailed in Appendix A, note the conclusion of the battery electric HGV feasibility study, and approve the publication of the feasibility study reports on the Nestrans website. And thirdly, note that the BEV HGV feasibility study has been shortlisted in the most innovative transport project of the year category, and that a coordinated communications line will be prepared in advance of the awards outcome in June. Thank you. Happy to take any questions.
I'll formally just ask members if you've any questions. I ask you to put your hand up. I'm just looking around. While they're doing that, I'm just wondering if you're able to comment, or I'm conscious of the fact I saw in the public domain various press releases to do with A90, A952, references to Nestrans, City Region deal, UK Government, Scottish Government. I'm just wondering if you would like to just put matters correct, either yourself or Paul, in relation to that.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jay. We were surprised last night to see some of the press articles that came around. We are continuing to develop proposals to improve the A90, A952 corridor, but the focus at the moment is on design development at Tullaburness and Cortes junctions. The work has been undertaken with Aberdeenshire Council, consultation in partnership with Transport Scotland and the UK Government, because it's part of the City Region deal. So we are working together as a team on this one in terms of funding. We have contacted landowners to gain access to their properties, or negotiate to do topographical surveys and ecological surveys as necessary. We are still in that design development phase of junction work at the moment, and that's very much where the work is at the moment, and we continue to work successfully with our consultancy partnerships and Aberdeenshire Council as we work through that design process. And no funding or no further commitment is provided beyond that design process that we're working at the moment. Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity to provide a clarification.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Finch. I'll ask members, do they have any questions? No comments. Okay, that makes it easy. I will take everybody back to, and Claudia, you have set out what were the recommendations. I will ask members if they are content to accept those recommendations as they are set out. The three agreed. Okay, thank you. We will move to the progress report, item 7. Do members have any comments or questions on the progress report? Yeah, I'm just giving everybody a minute or two, or a second or two, I should say. I'm not going to give you a minute or two. Okay, I'm seeing none, so I will move on to item 8, which is our publications and consultations. It's pages 149 to 230, and I'm going to ask the same question. Do members have any questions or comments on that? Michael, you wish to come in?
So it's just a kind of comment on the bus users survey. I was noticing that there tends to be a particularly high percentage of people who feel who say they only get the bus because they feel there is no alternative, and I'm quite keen to just kind of want to get a bit comment about how we're trying to target people who don't currently get the bus to try to find out what their barriers are so we can maybe encourage them to use it in future.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. Yes, it was interesting to see that breakdown of transport focuses reports around about that is relatively limited, and obviously focus on bus users themselves. Within the budget and our business plan for this coming financial year, we're planning our own bus user survey, which we've done on a regular but not annual basis going forward, and that I think this year would, because of the time with ART and some of the other project work that we're doing on buses, we need to expand that, not only bus users, but also non-bus users, and make sure we're collecting non-bus user views as well as users in terms of that survey. So that's where we would be doing that work. We hope to be undertaking that when there's after the Union Street Central works are completed and there's a bit more steadiness on the bus network. But that's our plan going forward. And obviously we can then compare and contrast that with some of the other work that I know Kirsty's been doing on Aberdeen Rapid Transit and some of the bus user work that she's done as well to create that holistic picture of how buses are used in the system at the moment, and their comments and views.
Thank you.
Okay, Miranda, please. Good afternoon.
Thank you. I note at item 9 that the taxi and private hire policy consultation response is being drafted at the moment. I'm not looking for sign off on that, but it would be quite helpful if you could circulate that response once it's been finalised. Thank you.
Happy to confirm that, Councillor Radley.
Put the microphone back on. One final call I'll put out to members if they have any questions or comments on this report. I'm not seeing any hands, so I will take everybody to page 149 and ask, are you content to accept the 5 recommendations that's set out in 2.1 there? Agreed? Agreed. So with that completes our agenda for this afternoon. And I want to thank everybody for your participation and attendance here. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.